Hey guys, it's Desiree Stafford. Super excited to be here with you today because I have not done a live stream in quite some time, or at least not in this week. And I am on a break from an event here in DC, so I want to share with you 3 tips for closing high-end sales with ease. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I remember there was a time when, closing even a $2,500 sale was scary as shit to me. And now I close, 10 times more than that. And it's like that. So, hey Leslie, how are you? Hey Janice, how are you? So I'm going to give you 3 tips, okay? Provided I can remember them because I don't have any notes in front of me. The first tip that I want to share with you is you really want to be able to diagnose the problem that your clients are experiencing. Because let's say, for example, you're using an application process. People will tell you on the application what their biggest challenge is, what their biggest struggle or frustration is if you ask that question. But oftentimes they only understand it at a very surface, superficial level. You have to see yourself as the doctor. You are the expert who can help your clients break through. So that means that even though your clients are telling you what they think the problem is, you need to be able to see beyond what they're telling you to see the root cause of what the problem is. Because if you don't do that, you're just like anybody else, right? Anyone else who says, yeah, you need more leads. Well, what do they need more leads for? What's the root cause of that problem? Why are they struggling to attract leads right now? If they're not communicating the right way, or if they're, having arguments with their spouse or their partner, fine, but what's the reason that's happening? You need to start listening to your people to really identify and call out what the root cause, what the root issue is, okay? So that's the first thing. Really get in there and diagnose what's going on. It's also great for your positioning on the sales call as well. The second thing is you really want to make sure that you are willing to go into the pain with your people. Now, this can feel scary sometimes, right? If you're afraid to really touch the pain, you don't want to be too intimate with people, you're afraid they're going to get upset with you, but you've got to do this. You've got to do this. Your people are in pain, your people are afraid, your people have no one to talk to about the things that they really want to open up to you with, but they don't know how to do that. So you've got to be willing to ask those challenging questions and stand there with the client in their pain, right? You can't get scared of it. You can't get all emotional. You can't lose your shit, right? Because you have to be strong so that they can get emotional if they need to feel, to release whatever emotions are going on that have been suppressed for a really long time, so they can get in touch with the cost of not resolving the problem right now, okay? The third tip is that you want to take a stand for your people. Okay, and thanks for the love, by the way. Hey, Sharik, how are you? You want to take a stand for your people. So I know a lot of you hear things like, I can't afford it, or I need to think about it. And so you kind of just like back off, right? Because maybe you buy into the prospect's money story, or maybe you're having your own money story. And so you kind of feel like, all right, I get it. Well, the reality is when people use money as an excuse, any objection really that comes up, typically there's a deeper reason for that, and it's not what they're telling you, right? So I know for my own self, many times I'll talk to a prospect and we get to the money part of the conversation, and sometimes they tell me they don't have the money, but I dig deeper than that, right? I really go in and ask them questions about, what is this really about for you? And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, it is never about the money. It's some other fear that they're afraid to address. And that usually comes up because I continue to ask questions to make it safe for them really to open up and share with me what the real problem is or what the real fear is. And then I can then help them move through it. Because you have to understand your people are, whatever the objection or excuse is why they're not willing to move forward at that time, this is a pattern for them. This is a way they stop themselves from getting what they want in all areas of their life and or business or whatever it is that you help them with. So you really want to be able to take a stand for them. This is not about forcing, and it certainly is not about convincing anybody, right? I would never recommend that you do that. In fact, when you are able to handle objections the right way, you have people asking you for the sale. I've had that happen so many times, and then people thanking you for the sale, right? But you want to take a stand for them because am I not recording something live and now I got to go open the door? I don't understand. It's so crazy. Anyway, you just saw me lose my shit, right? So anyway, let's recap what I shared with you so far. 3 tips for closing high-end sales more easily. The first one is you really want to make sure you're diagnosing what's going on for people. The second thing is you want to make sure that you stand, you're laughing at me. I wonder who's sending the laughs. Yeah, I just lost it. The second is that you want to you really want to be able to stand in the pain with your people, right? Don't be afraid of it. Don't recoil. Don't worry about being too intimate. Sometimes people will get on the phone with me who've never heard of me before, but they went through a 1-hour webinar and they're wanting to work with me. And I get on the phone like I've known them for years. Like, that's the level of intimacy that I allow in my space so that people can feel safe to open up, right? Because people are dying to open up, but they typically can't open up to their friends and their family, right? Because they don't really understand the type of work that we do. So it's safe for them. I create that space where it's safe for them to open up about the things that they've been dreaming about, the things that they want, the things they've been denying themselves for a really long time, okay? And then the third thing is that you want to make sure that you take a stand for your people. So when someone says they can't afford it, or I need to think about it, or whatever objection comes up, don't just take that at face value, right? Really ask more questions. Probe them to find out what the real issue is, and you will find out that it is not money. It's not that they don't have time. It's some fear, or it's some pattern of disempowerment that they have been continuing for a really long time. And if you understand what really gets to happen in a sales conversation, whether they become a client or not, it's really an opportunity for people to transform during that conversation. It's an opportunity for people to step out of fear and into faith. And if you get that, then you will have no problem doing the things that I'm suggesting for you to do. You will also, no longer feel that you're being pushy. You'll no longer feel the fear of being rejected or any of those kind of things, because you really understand that you're in service to people. All right. And this is the key, really, to being able to close more high-end sales with ease. So Leslie says, hold on. Hey, Tariq, true. What was true for you? I'd love to hear that. And Leslie asks, can you give an example of a fear pattern that is behind the money? All right. One pattern that I've gotten a lot recently is that people have invested before, didn't make the return on their investment, and are scared out of their minds to invest again. And typically investing with me is a higher investment that they've made before. So I've had many, many people, like, they would tell me they don't have the money. And I get it on an intellectual level that it's really a fear that they're hiding. So I just probe them and I ask. And honestly, part of the way I handle my sales call is also intuitive, right? So I trust the questions that come up for me. I don't use a script. I have a framework, and I trust whatever questions come up. So when someone says something to me, I'm listening for how they're saying it to me. And that's where I know where to probe or to ask deeper questions. And so I'll ask, what is this really about? Or I'll say, I'm getting the sense it's about something other than money. Or if money wasn't on the table at all, what's really holding you back? Those are some of the questions that I might ask based on what I'm hearing in the conversation. And when I say what I'm hearing, what I mean is that I'm reading between the lines of what they're actually saying. And that typically gets people to open up. This is when they usually start crying. I think that the sales call really starts, when you hear the objection. Because up until then, everybody's like flying high and they're not even really facing their fear. It's when it comes to, making the commitment, right? That's when people are confronted then with their fears. And so if you know how to continue to probe and how to ask questions and how to make it safe, people will open up to you. And so that's typically the concern that I have is I haven't made a return on investment in the past. I'm scared, out of my mind to do this. And really how I help them walk through that, because that's a real fear, right? Is number one, who they're being today on the phone with me is different than the person that they were being in the past. I also help them often look for the lesson that they learned from that experience, because even if you didn't get an ROI working with a particular coach or mentor in the past, there was something that you learned, there was something that you got out of it that you can use today, right? So I typically have them look for the lesson for themselves. And I don't tell them how to think, but I ask them questions to help them think in a different way. And that releases the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, whatever they're feeling about that past experience, and allows them to get more present and then focus on what they want instead, what they want to create. And that typically helps them move through the process. Okay? Yeah, Sharik, you're right. It's not about the money. Awesome. All right, cool. Anyone else have any other questions for me? And again, this can work. I don't care what you're selling. If you're selling at the $3,000 level, the $5,000, the $10,000, the $25,000 level or above, the same process can work for you. And the thing is, when we're afraid in a sales conversation, it's our stuff. It really is our stuff. And we've got to own that and move through that so that we can really be in service to our clients. Because again, your clients are afraid. Your clients have tried things in the past and it hasn't worked out. and they're afraid to invest again. They're afraid. Sometimes it's not about even being afraid to invest again. Sometimes it's about the fear of letting themselves down again, and feeling embarrassed, or what will other people think, and all that kind of jazz, right? So you really want to make sure that you are able to create that safe space for your prospect. Really listen to them, hear what they're saying, continue to probe them, especially when you're afraid to ask certain questions. I find that the questions that I'm like, ooh, should I ask this, are the questions I need to ask, because those are the questions that everyone else is afraid to ask, and that's why these people are staying stuck, right? Questions are really powerful, guys. When you can ask people questions and help them see things from a different perspective, help them really come face to face with themselves and what they've been running from for all of these years, that's transformational in and of itself, and the natural outgrowth of that is a sale, okay? All right. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you. All right. So does anyone have any other questions before I wrap up, or before I'm summoned to open another door? I'm at this beautiful, let me see if I can show you where I am. I'm at this beautiful hotel in, I think I'm in DC. I would have done it from outside, which is even more pretty, or prettier, but it's too hot and humid, and my hair can't take it. So I'm doing this from indoors. Anyway, I hope you guys got some value out of today's video. If you have, I invite you to like, comment, and share it. If you have any questions and you're watching the replay, put your questions in the Q&A and I will respond to you. And I, again, hope this will serve you, right? Because there are so many of you who know that you should be charging more, but you're afraid to do it. And you're afraid to talk about the price of your programs and all that kind of jazz. And, you really need to get past that. Because, and I share this, I have a training that you guys may want to take a look at. Go to DesireeStafford.com/freedom. I share this in the training where I talk about the fact that your fee is part of your client's accountability, right? So you can't be afraid of it. And if you're afraid of it, then your people are going to be afraid of it, right? Whatever your fee is needs to roll off your tongue like you're asking somebody to pass you the pepper or the salt at the table, right? It can't be something where you're feeling jittery about it, or where you're not feeling like you can confidently receive it, because then you will subcommunicate to your people that you're not at ease with it, and so you'll make them not at ease, right? There's so much that we are communicating when we do everything. Right? Whether it is doing a live stream, whether it's doing a webinar, whether it's being on a sales conversation with people, right? And one of the things that needs to really come through in your sales conversation is your confidence and your ability to sell and deliver at whatever your price point is, right? Because that's going to give a scared prospect the confidence to say yes. Makes sense? Okie dokie. Hey, Patricia, how are you? Glad you joined. All right, so I'm going to wrap up if no one has any questions. If you do have questions, I'll stay for another second or two. But if you don't, then you got the value that you came here to get, and go out there and make some sales, okay? So I'm going to see any questions before I wrap up. Again, feel free to like, comment, or share this video with anyone who you think will get some value out of it. If you would like some more, I don't talk really about sales in the free training, but I do touch on this topic that I just mentioned today. So if you're interested in that free training, go to DesireeStafford.com/freedom. Otherwise, I wish you guys a fantastic weekend, and I will see you when I'm back in town next week. Take care.